A few weeks ago, I was reading an old 1990s car mechanics magazine. Buried inside was a small question about unleaded petrol and carburetors. But one line immediately caught my attention. The article mentioned increased wear on the needle and jet of carburetors using biased needles, the exact system used in Zenith-Stromberg and many SU designs. And if you own a Volvo 140 series, a Triumph, a Jaguar, or many European classics, you've probably seen these wear yourself. Jet go oval, mixtures slowly drift rich, fuel economy drops. But why does this happen? Why do biased needles wear out jets faster than earlier designs? And why did engineers adopt this system in the first place? Today, we're going to look inside the Zenith-Stromberg carburetor and understand exactly why this tiny spring creates wear. At the heart of every Zenith-Stromberg carburetor is a beautifully simple fuel metering system. Brass jet sits at the center of the carburetor. Inside it moves a tapered metering needle attached to air piston. As the engine demands more air, vacuum lifts the piston. That pulls the tapered needle upward out of the jet, allowing more fuel to flow. Because the needle is tapered, every position matters a precise amount of fuel. It's an elegant solution, and in early carburetors, the needle sat perfectly centered inside the jet, with clearance on all sides. That meant the needle barely touched the jet at all. Almost no friction, almost no wear. In theory, the system could run for decades. But later, carburetor designs introduced something new: a biased needle. Instead of floating freely in the jet, the needle is pushed sideways by a small spring. This presses the needle lightly against the jet wall. Why would engineers do this? Because in real engines, pistons vibrate, and when the needle floats freely, it can rattle slightly inside the jet. That vibration can cause inconsistent fuel metering. By adding a spring and pushing the needle to one side, engineers ensured the needle always stayed in a stable, repeatable position. From a tuning standpoint, it improves consistency, but it also introduced something unavoidable: constant contact between two pieces of metal. Once the needle is pressed against the jet wall, friction becomes inevitable. Every time the engine changes speed, the piston moves. The needle slides up and down inside the jet, thousands of times per drive, millions of times over the life of the car. And because the jet is made from relatively soft brass, the contact point slowly wears away. Over time, the circular opening of the jet becomes slightly oval. First, that changes time, but eventually the jet allows more fuel to pass than the needle profile intended. That means the mixture becomes richer. Owners often notice it as higher fuel consumption, sooty spark plugs, and an engine that slowly drifts out of tune. Not because the carburetor was adjusted incorrectly, but because the jet itself has changed shape. For owners of the Zenith-Stromberg carburetor, this wear pattern is very familiar. The carburetor still runs, it still drives smoothly, but the mixture slowly becomes richer over time, which is why rebuild kits for these carburetors almost always include both the needle and the jet. Replacing only one rarely solves that problem, because they were together as a pair, and this is especially relevant for engines like the Volvo B20, not B18 with centralized needle without spring. Many of the original jets have already seen millions of needle movements. So if your classic Volvo suddenly seems richer than it should, the problem might not be adjustment. It might simply be wear inside the carburetor. The biased needle system was never a mistake. It solved a real engineering problem, stabilizing the needle and improving fuel metering. But like many clever solutions, it came with trade-off. Compromise: a tiny spring, a tiny sideways force, and over years of driving, that small contact slowly reshapes the jet itself, which means even one of the most elegant carburetor designs ever built is still a subject of the simple physics of friction. I'll catch you in the next one on Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 8 a.m. Pacific Time. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do. Click the subscribe button and notifications bell so that way you can be notified as soon as I upload new videos about car repairing.